asymptomatic testing.
Several student organizations at FGCU,
and we're going to play Guess the Song.
Hello, welcome to Hanging with the Executives here at the Bauer School of Music.
And you're watching ENTV.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another week of Hard Hitters. This week I'm your host Sarah Mankowitz, and I'm joined with
Nick Asselin,
Ian Lynch,
and Tyler Watkins.
And we've got a great episode prepared for you today. We've got, first of all, last week's games. We've got the Raiders versus the Bengals. I unfortunately did not predict this one correctly. It was a rough for predictions last week. But the Bengals won 19-26, and this was their first playoff win in 31 years.
It's the first time ever someone has ever sent a text message saying that the Cincinnati Bengals have won a playoff game.
Are you so wow?
Yes.
That's crazy.
No, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, their connection is amazing. I think a couple of years, this connection could be as good as the Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams connection.
I've always been a fan of Joe Burrow, and him and Jamar Chase is definitely going to be a cornerstone for this franchise going forward. But this game wasn't without its fair share of controversies from the refs, and we'll see from the next game that we talk about that, that questionable touchdown from Joe Burrow, where the ref, it was confusion whether the ref blew the thing.
Well, the entire officiating crew for that game is not allowed to officiate any more games.
Yeah, so we can have a whole discussion about the debacle.
But the refs can be the whole Hard Hitters a ref edition.
Yeah, we can make a whole show about this weekend.
The offensive line actually did a pretty decent job this past week keeping Burrow up, and I remember that was one of our points for keys to win the game, and ended up helping.
Definitely. But I mean, moving on, we've got the 49ers versus the Cowboys game. Sorry, Ian, your Cowboys are not Super Bowl contenders. I hate to break it to you, even though we all saw that coming.
It did not take long for that prediction to fall off a cliff.
It did not. But the 49ers did beat the Cowboys. It was 23-17, so not too far of a game off. I mean, it was a one-scoring game. But the 49ers punt is what I would like to talk about after that false start. That almost blew the entire game for them. What do you guys think about that play specifically?
Like you mentioned with the debacle on fourth down, Shanahan almost Shanahan this game. You know, he gave up some leads in the past. He has a history of it. So, I mean, they almost did give up that game. And then you got to look at the last play calling from Mike McCarthy. What were they thinking? Doing a QB sneak or QB draw, whatever you want to call it. Going right down the middle of the field with no time left. You can't blame the ref for that. You can't blame the ref for 15 penalties. That's just undisciplined football. It's a classic Cowboys move in the big games.
You can't blame the refs for what happened at the end of that game. Dak Prescott and the center need to know the rules. They need to know that the official needs to touch the ball. They need to place the ball. You can't just put the ball wherever you want. And, I mean, the Cowboys fell short again, and just like I said last week, the NFL community is loving it.
Moving on to this week's game, we've got the Bengals versus the Titans for this. I think all of these games upcoming now that we're getting into the playoffs and everything are going to be super close games, and so I'm ready for some upsets for this game. We obviously saw how the Bengals played against the Raiders last week, and we talked about that, but both teams have looked pretty good throughout this season. So I'm interested to hear Ian's perspective on this one. I have a feeling he's going to pick the Titans.
You're not wrong. I do have the Titans. The Bengals defense is allowing 4.4 yards per carry, and they're expected to have a big game from Derrick Henry on the Titans side. So I think it's going to be a field day for him. Also, the Bengals are missing several players on their front. So once again, are they going to be able to keep Burrow on his feet? That's the big question.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously this past week their defense did a great job.
With all due respect, I will have to go with the Bengals on this one. I'm just riding too high on Joe Burrow right now. He's just astounding me with him and Jamar Chase in that offense, just going in full throttle most weeks.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I'm sticking with the Bengals and Joe Burrow here. You know, their first win in 31 years, first playoff win in 31 years. Why not make it back-to-back?
Moving on, we've got the 49ers versus the Packers. We obviously talked about the 49ers game and our Packers bias here. I'd like to hear from you.
Go Pack, go. I mean,
you said Minshew Mania?
The biggest thing is just stop the run and clean up special teams. Those have been the biggest issues for the Packers this season. If they can just stop the run and force Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball, the Packers have this.
I mean, if the running game is strong for the 49ers, I really do think that they have a chance. But in this one, I think the Packers will pull it out.
Well, I mean, obviously we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo be kind of inconsistent, obviously, throughout this past season and the season before even a little bit. Because I remember I would keep picking the 49ers. I'd be like, Jimmy G, let's go. And then I'd be like, I didn't win. So, I mean, you do have that on your side, a little bit of that inconsistency there. So it could be very close, depending on what 49ers team you get. I'm going to have to go with the Packers on this one. I'm going to give you some faith, and I'm going to...
Thank you.
But is that your final decision is Packers?
Yeah, I'm definitely nervous about the matchup. But yeah, 100% I'm picking the Packers.
Yeah, I have the Packers as well. Like you hit on the injuries, they're getting a lot of guys back this week. And then also, like you hit on, they take care of the run and special teams, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the point that I forgot to bring up. The special teams has been horrid for the Packers this season. So, I mean, will they make some mistakes in this one coming off the bye week? You know, that special teams, it could be the difference in the game.
And then we've got the Rams versus the Bucs game, and so I'll let Tyler take this one away since this is your team playing. How do you feel about this one?
The Bucs, I'm going to make this simple. The Bucs have not beaten the Rams in 2 years. Since
what I was hoping you would say.
2019, back with old Jameis Winston, 30 for 30 Jameis, back in LA. But, I mean, given the streak against them earlier this year, you guys saw, obviously, I'm not going to bring that mess up again. But, you know, as a fan, I am terrified. I am terrified for Sunday. But you know what? I'm not going to abandon the ship. I'm going down with my team. I'm going to pick the Bucs to pull this one out. If we lose, I'm going down with the ship. So
fair enough. If you're not loyal, then what are you?
Yeah. Like earlier this season, week 3, these two teams played, and the Bucs could not run the ball whatsoever. Tom Brady was their leading rusher with 14 yards. I think that
and your
says
QB's your rusher.
That says it alone. So, and with them still struggling with the run game, no Leonard Fournette, I think it'll be extremely difficult. They'll force Brady to throw the ball, which Brady, he's an amazing thrower of the football. But if they're forcing him to do that every time and then not being able to incorporate a run game, I don't think they'll be able to pull this one off.
Obviously, we thought that, like, when we did Hard Hitters last year, that the Bucs were going to just be creamed by the Chiefs in Super Bowl last year, and then obviously that's kind of the opposite of what happened. And, like, we do have playoff Brady, but I think it comes down to a team with a really good offense that the Bucs have, and a team with a really good defense like the Rams have. And it's whatever one kind of will offset the other one. And so I do think it's going to be close, but I'm sorry to say that I'm picking the Rams, Tyler.
Yeah, I have the Rams as well. There are 3 linemen for the Bucs that are possibly going to be out, so that's a big hole. I think the biggest thing is, in order for the Rams offense to be effective, they rely a lot on establishing the run early, which is what they're going to have to do against the Bucs this week.
And last but not least, we kind of have a playoff rematch. We've got the Bills versus the Chiefs again. Obviously, we saw last year that the Chiefs defeated the Bills and went on to go into the Super Bowl. But the Bills and Josh Allen have looked much better this season. I feel like each season they kept getting better and better. Like before it was like, oh, the Bills, like they're an okay team, and then we saw them get into playoffs last year, and then we see them this year and doing quite amazing, I must say. And so I think that this is going to be the Bills' revenge game. I think that the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs this time.
They have done a great job at tinkering with their line to make it a huge threat to Patrick Mahomes. They went out and got a bunch of guys who are able to blitz heavy and get to the quarterback fast, which is what you need to do in order to rattle Patrick Mahomes.
I think the Bills and Josh Allen will finally pull through and beat Mahomes in the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, you guys all bring up good points. Yeah, especially when earlier this season, I was about to bring up that the Bills did come out victorious in Kansas City earlier this year. I mean, the Chiefs were struggling at the time, and then now you see it later on this season. They did pick it up they did. And then you see last week they started off slow, but then out of nowhere it was 21-7 at the half nearly, and you just see the Chiefs offense just kick in. But in this matchup, I'm definitely going to go with the Bills. Like you guys said, they're out for revenge. I feel like this is the time. This is the time for Josh Allen to step up and lead that high-powered offense to, beat the Chiefs.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching Hard Hitters, and please tune in next week to see who was right.